Skip puzzle YouTube, 6fthax here. Have for you guys today a really good and really close Wi-Fi battle that I had against Jayreezy off of my Discord. Now, of course, if you guys do enjoy the video, make sure to hammer arm that like button down below to answer the question of the day. Now, going into this matchup, I just kind of got a team I threw together. Now, normally when I throw teams together, I don't like to leave the paste bins of them in videos, and that's just because normally when I throw teams together, they're not really that thought out. Like, they have clear flaws and they have like some very common weaknesses, so I don't want to give you guys just kind of like half-ass teams more or less. So I hope you guys don't mind if I don't leave a paste bin for this team, but if you guys really want, I can leave paste bins for teams I just kind of throw together, which are still pretty fun, but just yeah, if they don't really perform that well in certain matchups, just don't get mad at me about it. So going into this matchup, I am absolutely terrified of that Goodra and Haxorus just because I don't have a fairy type and my steel type is Scizor. However though, my Scarf Gengar can absolutely destroy Jayreezy late game once I weaken the Goodra and I weaken the Registeel, which is going to be really great because this also means Dragon Dance Haxorus shouldn't be as scary and Scarf Keldeo shouldn't be as annoying as it can be. So I'm able to Steam Eruption the incoming Goodra, kind of hoping that I was able to get the burn. Unfortunately, I did not. Now turn 1, he ended up missing Icy Wind, which kind of sucked for him and me because I don't know what kind of Keldeo set he is, and he wasn't able to, I guess, get off that extra little bit of chip damage on my Volcanion. However though, the extra little bit of damage doesn't really end up being game changing at all, as he Dracos my incoming Hippowdon. I knew Hippowdon would have been able to live any hit he wanted to go for, plus he wasn't in a scenario where he was gonna go for an Ice Beam if he did predict me to bring in my Hippowdon. So I'm able to chew the Draco Meteor, and unfortunately I am not gonna be forced to go for the Slack Off because this is more or less my only real switch into Goodra, which is kind of bad because Hippowdon also is my Stealth Rocker and completely allows Celebi to come in for free and just do whatever he wants to my Hippowdon, which is really bad. So I'm gonna hard switch directly into my Scizor, thinking that he's gonna go for a Giga Drain. I didn't see that he got leftover, so I thought that he might have been Z-move. So I kind of pseudo expected that, but he ended up going for the substitute, and then he goes for the Baton Pass, and this is actually terrifying because if Haxorus or this Keldeo end up behind a substitute, then they could very well just sweep me or drop half of my team on their neck. So I really have to be careful around this Celebi, and that's really bad because my Hippowdon, like I said, is my Stealth Rocker, and yeah, this could be very, very bad for me. Not to mention the Hippowdon also kind of deals with the Registeel and Haxorus to an extent, but again, if Celebi just comes in, substitutes, and Baton Pass, that's going to be really bad because this Hippowdon is a Stone Edge Hippowdon, not a Whirlwind Hippowdon. So luckily Latios is faster than Keldeo. Turns out that he's Life Orb, and now I'm expecting him to want to go for a Hidden Power or Bug or Ghost or something along those lines. So I pull a switch into my Scizor. I also thought that maybe he was going to try and switch into a Celebi, that way I could go for U-turn from there, but he ends up bringing in the Registeel, and because he did bring in the Registeel, I'm pretty sure he's just going to try and get up his Stealth Rocks here as I make a hard switch right into my Absol. In hindsight, this might have been a bit of a bad play on my part because I could have definitely brought in Hippowdon to go for Stealth Rocks, if anything. Then I could have tried to bring in Absol later against this Registeel, and that might have been a little bit better for me in the long run of this match, but I just kind of throw in Absol there, and this isn't entirely too bad because I was pretty sure he would just go for Rocks, and then after I Mega Evolve, he can't Thunder Wave me. Iron Head really isn't doing anything to me, plus he's got no switch-ins to a knockoff, not to mention that my game plan throughout this whole match was to weaken this Registeel and to weaken Goodra. That way Scarf Gengar could come in late game and just click Shadow Ball and win basically. So by getting off this knockoff on the Registeel is absolutely amazing because now Registeel is not going to be gaining back lefties leftovers recovery every turn, and if I'm able to get up my Stealth Rocks, that's even more chip damage I can get off on the Registeel so that then my Gengar can knock it out. So I Swords Dance on a switch into Keldeo. He basically has to choose a death fodder here, and I'm able to just annihilate the Keldeo, which is absolutely amazing. This now means I only have to worry about Haxorus behind a substitute. So in comes the Galvantula. Was kind of hoping he wasn't going to be focus sash because he didn't lead with Galvantula, but he does turn to be sashed, and this is why I probably should have brought in Hippowdon first to get up my rocks. Then that way I might have actually been able to just sweep with my Mega Absol. But this is fine because getting rid of the Keldeo, weakening the Registeel, and making his Galvantula practically useless to him is more than enough that I needed Absol to do in this game, and this is really great as in comes a Goodra, get off a solid like 20%, which means he most definitely is assault vested, and then expecting him to just Draco again, I switch into my Hippowdon because I thought that he could have also maybe pulled a double switch into Celebi, predicting my switch into Hippowdon, but he makes an excellent play, goes for the Fire Blast, predicting my Scizor, and just utterly roasts me, and this is really bad because now I am down 4-5 and he has rocks up and he has this damn Celebi that can just come in against Hippowdon, substitute, and Baton Pass for literally no risk at all. There's no reason he shouldn't do this because I don't have Whirlwind on this Hippowdon. It's got Stone Edge, and that is just so frustrating because if I had Whirlwind, this thing wouldn't have been as big of a problem because I definitely could have gone for the Whirlwind this turn instead of trying to see how much damage the Stone Edge would do to Celebi. Unfortunately, Stone Edge does not do anywhere near enough to the point where I'm going to be able to break a potential substitute. So I'm basically forced to switch out here, and I switch right into my Latios because he should definitely want to go for the substitute here or go for the Giga Drain, and he does end up going for the correct play and substituting, as I will be faster than the Celebi. I will definitely break the substitute with the Draco Meteor. The only problem is though is if that he could have Recover, but normally substitute Baton Pass Celebis are just sub Baton Pass with dual stab, so I'm not really worried about him having the Recover here. So my game plan was to just spam Draco, except of course this match couldn't get any harder for me. He has Recover on Celebi, and this is really bad because now without my Scizor, this Celebi can literally just in theory 1v1 my team, and that's not good for me, obviously. So I go for the Roost here as he actually Baton Passes into his Registeel, which is perfectly fine by me. Getting off that extra Stealth Rock damage is absolutely amazing. I only have one real switch into this Registeel, which is my Hippowdon, which is why I actually switch into my Volcanion here, thinking if he brings in Celebi, I can chew a Giga Drain or a Psychic and then knock him out with the Fire Blast. But he actually pulls a double switch into Haxorus, and this is actually really good for me because there is no way that this Haxorus is going to OHKO me with any one hit at the amount of HP that I'm at unless he is Choice Banded, because I do have the Shucka Berry and I'm going to be able to live this Earthquake and in return get off a solid amount of damage with the Sludge Bomb, putting him in range of where my Scarf Gengar can now knock him out with the Giga Drain. So he's going to lock himself into the Outrage here, guessing he didn't have the Dragon Claw. I did think about switching into Latios there on the Earthquake, but obviously that probably wouldn't have been my best play. Actually, Hippowdon could have also been a potential switch in there, which is why he probably went for the Outrage, as I will be able to bring in Gengar here and knock out this Haxorus, which is really great. Now, all I need to do at this point in the match is try and weaken this Goodra a bit more and try and weaken the Registeel a bit more, and I should be able to pull out a victory. So I've been able to kind of shift momentum back into my favor more or less, but Jayreezy can definitely still pull out a victory just with that Celebi if I let my Gengar go down. So obviously Gengar is very important in this matchup. I'm gonna go ahead, sack off my Hippowdon to this Goodra, which is really great because now there's no way Celebi should be able to just substitute for free against my Latios and against my Gengar. So I'm gonna bring in Latios here. By far my best move to go for is a Psyshock. Have no reason to Draco, not gonna knock out the Registeel, and I'm not gonna do enough damage to where he's gonna be in range of where Gengar can revenge kill him. So Psyshocking here was definitely by far my better play. Even if he brought in the Celebi, he still risked me potentially Dracoing. So him sacking off Galvantula there was definitely a smart play on his part, because now his Registeel doesn't take any unnecessary damage, and he avoided the mind games of me Dracoing his Celebi potentially. So in comes the Registeel. I know he's gonna go for Thunder Wave. There's literally no other move for him to go for in this scenario, so I'm just hoping that Psyshock can maybe do enough damage to where my Gengar can knock him out, because there's a chance that this Registeel could just paraflinch my Latios down. So he goes for the protect. The thought of him protecting did cross my mind, but the other big problem with this is that now that my Latios is paralyzed, his Celebi can just come in, substitute, and recover until eventually I get fully paralyzed and Celebi ends up behind a substitute, which means I cannot let my Latios beat his Registeel 1v1, because that's literally me signing my death sentence essentially, because I just lose if I let Latios beat this Registeel 1v1. So I make a hard switch into my Gengar. Thankfully, he does not go for the Thunder Wave, because if he had Thunder Wave there, he 100% won the battle. But by making this aggressive switch into my Gengar, I'm going to be able to not only knock out this Registeel, but most definitely knock out this Goodra after Stealth Rocks if I don't get absolute mint damage on my Shadow Ball. So I'm going to be forced to switch out here into my Latios, and this is absolutely phenomenal, because now by sacking off my Latios, I get a switch back into my Gengar that can then go for the Sludge Wave, and I ensure I knock out the Goodra with the Sludge Wave. The only other problem is though that I still don't know what item he has on his Celebi, which means there is a chance he could be the Poison Weakening Berry, which means he wins the battle right there, because I'm at low enough HP to where a Giga Drain will definitely knock me out. So down goes the Goodra, and here is the moment of truth. Does he have the Casa Berry or not? I go for the Sludge Wave. If I was Specs, I would Oko him through the berry, but I am Scarfed. Luckily, he doesn't have the berry, and Gengar just putting the team there on his back. My plan went just about flawlessly. I would have rather had liked to get rid of Goodra and Registeel early on in the battle, then that way Gengar could have had a better and easier time in sweeping the rest of his team. But by weakening Registeel and weakening Goodra, I was still able to put him in range of where Gengar could just come in and win the matchup. So good game to Jayreezy, guys. Hopefully y'all did enjoy the battle. Make sure to hammer arm that like button down below to answer the question of the day. Now, today, Tuesday, is definitely when I am streaming, so by the time this video goes up, I should have already streamed, or I do plan to stream, because probably some things are going to come up later when I did originally plan to stream, but still going to stream today on Tuesday nonetheless. So yeah, with all that being said, guys, 2 videos on the end screen, so I will see you all tomorrow. Later, everybody.
Cause my brain and heart are both tied in the knot, and this hinders me from crying a lot. This causing me to show no emotion. But when I said I cared, I wasn't joking. But I guess it's too late for me to become broken. For now, I'm living with no more pain, tears, or hoping. I'm just coasting. Yeah, I said I'm coasting. No more pain, tears, and hoping. For real.